Welcome back to the deep dive. Imagine a world where your health isn't just checked at the doctor's office, but is monitored, like continuously, right from home, or even when you're just out and about. We're talking smartwatches, glucose monitors, all these remote systems helping doctors keep an eye on things from afar.
It's quite a revolution, really.
It is, yeah.
And today, we're diving deep into that, the global patient monitoring device market. Our plan is to unpack the key takeaways, some surprising facts maybe, from a recent market forecast. We want to make sense of these, well, pretty big numbers and trends for you.
Sounds good.
Our insights are coming from the Global Patient Monitoring Device Market Forecast to 2033 by Cognitive Market Research. So yeah, get ready. There's some serious growth happening here.
Okay.
Let's kick things off with the big picture, the global view. This market was already pretty substantial, $47.6 billion back in 2021.
Man.
And it's projected to hit an incredible $114.6 billion by 2033.
Wow.
That's more than double in just over a decade. We're looking at a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR, of nearly 7.6%. Yeah, and what's truly fascinating there, I think, is just the sheer momentum, the speed of this expansion. It really signals a fundamental pivot in how we approach patient care globally.
A pivot. How so?
Well, we're moving, beyond just episodic care in hospitals or clinics,
Right.
towards a model that's much more about continuous proactive health management, often remotely, too.
Makes sense.
And this acceleration, it's driven by a few things coming together. Aging populations, definitely. The rise in chronic diseases, diabetes, heart conditions that need constant oversight. And, of course, huge leaps in technology. Devices are getting smaller, smarter, more affordable all the time.
So with this incredible global growth, the question is, how does this, break down? Where is it happening? Let's maybe start with North America.
Okay.
That region alone is set to more than double. It was just over $19 billion in 2021, heading towards what? Over $44 billion by 2033.
Yeah, $44.346 billion to be precise. Massive numbers. And the U.S., naturally, is the biggest slice of that pie.
Right, nearly $34.5 billion by 2033 for the U.S. alone. That's almost a 7% growth rate.
It is. But what's really interesting about North America isn't just the size, it's the why. You've got this well-established healthcare infrastructure already.
Sure.
High R&D spending, and culturally a readiness to adopt new medical tech. Plus, favorable reimbursement policies help alongside that significant burden of chronic disease we mentioned.
And it's not just the U.S., right? You mentioned Canada and Mexico.
Exactly. Canada's showing really strong growth, too, projected to hit over $5.5 billion. That's an 8.4% CAGR.
Wow.
And Mexico's expanding significantly as well, to over $4.4 billion. So it reflects this wider regional push towards these integrated health solutions.
Okay, let's hop across the Atlantic. How does Europe stack up in comparison?
Europe's looking at a similar expansion trajectory, actually, also more than doubling.
From around $13.7 billion to nearly $32 billion by 2033.
That's the forecast, yeah. A CAGR of about 7.2%. And you see strong input from the big economies like Germany and the UK.
Germany hitting almost $4.8 billion. UK near $4 billion. But France looks like a standout. Over 8% CAGR.
France is definitely noteworthy, yes, growing to over $4.3 billion. But what's also quite compelling in Europe is the consistent growth across a whole range of countries.
Like Italy, Spain?
Italy, Spain, even Russia, all showing healthy AGRs, above 6%. Italy is actually over 7.6%. And this collective growth, it's often boosted by Europe's proactive healthcare policies, a big focus on preventative care, and that aging demographic needing these monitoring solutions to, maintain quality of life and cut down on hospital visits.
Okay, but here's something that caught my eye. The rest of Europe category, lots of smaller markets grouped together that actually shows the highest growth in the region.
That's right. It jumps from about $3 billion to over $8.1 billion. The CGR there is almost 8.8%.
So what does that tell us?
It suggests there's some really powerful underlying dynamics, even in those combined smaller markets. More and more nations are embracing these solutions. Even places like Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg, they show stable, solid growth in that kind of 5-6% range. It's widespread adoption.
Fascinating. Okay, now, let's talk about the region that's really, as you said earlier, putting the pedal to the metal. Asia-Pacific.
Ah, yes, the Asia-Pacific market. It is indeed expected to grow at the fastest clip globally. We're talking a leap from nearly $9 billion in 2021.
To over $24 billion by 2033.
Exactly. That's a CAG of almost 8.9%. This isn't just growth. It's like a massive wave of healthcare modernization and trying to improve accessibility.
And China's a huge part of that picture, right?
Yeah.
Almost tripling its market size to nearly $7 billion.
China's a major driver, absolutely. Japan is also significant, expected to reach over $4.6 billion.
But get this, India. It seems to be leading the pack in terms of growth rate.
It really is. India's the standout there, with the highest growth rate in the region, expanding from $1.3 billion to over $3.8 billion. That's a CAGR over 9.6%.
Nearly 10%. Wow. What's fueling that, do you think?
Well, if you connect it to the bigger picture, you have sheer population size, rapid urbanization, a rising middle class in places like India and China. That's a huge factor.
Right.
Plus, governments in these regions are really investing heavily in expanding healthcare access, often using digital health, remote care, which all leans heavily on these monitoring devices.
Makes sense.
And it's not just them. The report also points to South Korea reaching about $1.7 billion, Australia near $0.7 billion. And then you have these really dynamic emerging markets like Singapore, get this, a 9.4% CAGR.
Incredible.
And the broader Southeast Asia region growing over 9.2%. It all adds up to this massive leap forward for the whole region.
Okay, moving on. What about South America?
South America is also showing really robust expansion, growing at a strong 8.7% CAGR overall.
Right, set to reach over $8.7 billion by 2033, up from just over $3 billion. Brazil's the biggest player.
Brazil's the largest contributor, projected to hit almost $2.7 billion. But interestingly, Argentina actually shows an even faster growth rate, over 9.2%.
Faster than Brazil.
Yeah, and you also see Colombia, Peru, Chile, all showing healthy KGRs too, sort of in that 7.7% to 8.1% range.
So widespread adoption there too.
It seems so. It points to increasing healthcare awareness, maybe improving economic conditions, allowing more health investment, and that growing need to manage chronic conditions efficiently. It really speaks to a broad embrace of this tech for better public health.
Got it. And just to round things out, the Middle East and Africa.
Quickly. Sure. The Middle East market growing from about $1.8 billion to over $3.5 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR around 6%.
Saudi Arabia leading there.
Saudi Arabia is key, expected to reach over $1.2 billion. The UAE is notable too, growing faster at over 7% CGR, hitting around $0.38 billion.
That Africa.
Africa's market expanded from roughly $0.8 billion to $1.8 billion. So a KGR close to 6% as well. Nigeria and South Africa are the main players mentioned there. So this whole overview, it really shows a global market surging forward, but definitely at different speeds.
Yeah,
you know,
clearly.
You've got North America and Europe showing that strong, consistent expansion, but then Asia Pacific and South America are really accelerating, becoming these new powerhouses for growth.
Right.
What's crystal clear, though, is that the global demand for these patient monitoring devices isn't just about, convenience. It's pointing to a fundamental shift in how healthcare gets delivered, driven by demographics, tech innovation, and this collective push for care that's more proactive and hopefully more accessible.
So wrapping this up.
Yeah.
What does this all mean for you listening right now, or just for healthcare in general?
Mm-hmm.
We've mapped out this really impressive path for patient monitoring devices, heading towards that huge $114 billion mark by 2033.
Yeah.
It's a very clear signal that healthcare is increasingly moving outside the clinic walls.
It absolutely is. And given this kind of exponential growth, just consider how this is going to fundamentally reshape maybe the doctor-patient relationship itself. Mm-hmm. And even just the concept of personal health management over the next, say, decade. As our health data gets more and more integrated into our daily lives through these devices, well, it opens up incredible opportunities, doesn't it?
Like personalized care, early warnings.
Exactly. Personalized care, early intervention. But it also brings up some important questions we need to think about. Things like individual autonomy. How do we manage this constant stream of health information?
And access.
Right.
Making sure everyone benefits.
Crucially, yes. Ensuring equitable access to these potentially life-changing technologies for everybody. That's a big challenge and opportunity ahead.
Absolutely fascinating stuff. It really does make you think about how we'll all interact with healthcare pretty soon. Thanks so much for walking us through that.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the future of patient monitoring. We'll catch you next time. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a closer look at a sector that's not just growing. It's really fundamentally reshaping how we all approach health and wellness. I'm talking about the patient monitoring devices market. And look, this isn't just about new gadgets. It's a critical piece of modern healthcare's evolution. It's moving towards more personalized, more proactive well-being for all of us. So our mission in this deep dive is to unpack the key forces, the drivers accelerating its growth, the significant restraints holding it back, and maybe touch on the really exciting future trends that are already emerging, things you need to know about.
Absolutely. And it's worth mentioning all the insights we're about to share. They're powered by some extensive data-driven analysis from cognitive market research. So that gives us a really solid foundation for this whole exploration.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. What are the key drivers propelling the patient monitoring devices market forward right now? What's truly fueling this explosion?
Well, I think the undeniable primary driver is the rising prevalence of chronic diseases. I mean, it's significant. We're talking about conditions like cardiovascular disorders, diabetes, respiratory conditions. The list goes on. And it's not just that more people are living with these illnesses, it's the sheer scale, you know? Managing just diabetes and heart disease, for instance, consumes a huge percentage of healthcare budgets. It's staggering, really. So these patient monitoring devices, they're becoming indispensable because they offer one of the only scalable ways to manage this exploding demand outside of costly hospital stays. It fundamentally shifts where care actually happens.
That's a really critical point, that shift in where care happens. Because it's not just the growing need, is it? It's also about what technology now allows us to do to meet that need. And here's where it gets really interesting. We're seeing these rapid technological advancements playing such a pivotal role. Think about incredibly sophisticated wearable sensors, right? Yeah. Or the seamless wireless connectivity that lets vital data just flow freely. And maybe especially AI-powered analytics. These aren't just buzzwords anymore.
Not at all.
AI here means the systems can actually learn from the data, identify subtle patterns, maybe even predict issues before they become critical. And that enables real-time, accurate, remote data capture. It transforms care into something genuinely personalized and, crucially, preventative for you.
Precisely. And this technological leap, it also aligns perfectly with how health systems and insurers are increasingly focusing on early diagnosis. Proactive treatment. They're leveraging these patient monitoring tools very specifically to reduce those expensive hospital readmissions and, to genuinely enhance overall clinical outcomes. It's sort of a win-win situation.
A win-win, right? Better health for the patient and more efficient, cost-effective care for the system. Makes sense.
Exactly.
But, of course, no growth story is without its speed bumps. While this market is booming, what are some of the significant challenges, the restraints holding it back?
Yeah, that's important. A major persistent barrier is definitely the high upfront cost associated with many of these advanced devices. And that's often coupled with a really complex, sometimes fragmented reimbursement landscape. It's tricky.
Right. It's not straightforward getting these things paid for.
Not at all. And it's not just getting the device paid for once. You've got ongoing data transmission fees, software subscriptions, ensuring continuous technical support. This actually presents a much larger, kind of less visible cost barrier for widespread adoption, especially in lower resource settings or, for patients without really comprehensive insurance coverage.
And it's not just the direct financial costs either, is it? I mean, when you have so much sensitive personal health data being collected, being shared, data privacy and cybersecurity become absolutely critical concerns. You have to address those.
Huge concerns, especially with the integration of cloud-based systems and IoT monitoring systems, the Internet of Things. These devices are connected. They're sharing data constantly across networks.
So we're talking about foundational data privacy laws, things like HIPAA in the U.S., GDPR over in Europe. Compliance with these regulations is, well, it's essential, obviously, but it's also incredibly complicated to navigate. And that complexity can often slow down the implementation, the wider rollout of these innovative systems.
You've hit on a really vital point there. And, beyond the technical and the financial hurdles, there's another significant one, and that's resistance among healthcare professionals themselves.
The human factor.
Exactly, the human factor. This can stem from, well, a variety of reasons. Maybe it's concerns about workflow disruptions. You can imagine trying to implement entirely new procedures during a busy clinic day. Or it could be a lack of adequate training on these new systems. That's common. Or sometimes even just a general skepticism about relying too heavily on automation. These factors are often underestimated, but they're absolutely crucial for successful adoption at scale.
Right. You need buy-in from the clinicians using the tech every day.
Yeah.
Okay, so despite those hurdles, the future for patient monitoring devices looks incredibly promising.
Right.
There are some genuinely exciting trends already shaping what's next.
Yeah.
So what's on the horizon for us and, importantly, for you, the listener, as a patient or maybe healthcare consumer?
Well, I think one of the most transformative trends we're seeing is the massive rise of remote patient monitoring, RPM, as it's known.
RPM, right.
Well,
Heard a lot about that.
Yeah, and it's essentially supervising a patient's health data from outside the hospital, often, right from the comfort of their own home via connected devices. With telehealth becoming so mainstream now, these wearable and portable monitors are really empowering patients. They let you track vital signs, think heart rate, oxygen saturation right from your sofa. This doesn't just decentralize care, which is important, it significantly boosts patient autonomy. And, crucially, it substantially reduces the strain on hospitals, letting them focus resources on the most critical cases.
That sounds like a huge benefit for both the patient and the healthcare system. Real efficiency gains there. And sort of building on that, you mentioned AI earlier. We're seeing the integration of AI and predictive analytics becoming far more sophisticated, right?
No, absolutely. Far more sophisticated. It means these monitoring devices are just getting smarter. They're becoming capable of flagging really subtle anomalies before they escalate into, full-blown emergencies.
Wow. So catching things earlier.
Much earlier. And this empowers physicians to intervene sooner and much more effectively. It's a massive leap forward in delivering truly proactive care. It's almost like having a doctor continuously keeping an eye on your data, maybe without you even noticing day to day.
Like a silent guardian for your health data.
Something like that, yeah. And another major shift we're seeing is towards multi-parameter and non-invasive devices. Think about today's compact monitors. Some can measure ECG, that's your heart's electrical activity, SpO2, your blood oxygen saturation and blood pressure, all simultaneously.
All in one device.
Often, yes.
Yes.
Or integrated systems. And they do this with incredibly high accuracy now and minimal discomfort for the patient. This makes them indispensable tools, not just for healthcare professionals in a clinic setting, but increasingly for patients managing their own health at home. It makes self-monitoring a much more comprehensive and frankly less intrusive experience than it used to be.
Okay, so looking at all these factors, the drivers, the challenges, these really exciting trends, what's the ultimate takeaway for the patient monitoring market? So what does this all mean for us?
I think it means the patient monitoring devices market is really poised for profound continued growth. There's no doubt about it. The entire healthcare ecosystem you see is transitioning fundamentally. It's moving toward continuous, connected, and genuinely patient-centric care. And these devices, they are absolutely at the heart of that transformation. It's about making healthcare smarter, making it more accessible, and ultimately making it more personal for you.
So a final thought then. As these patient monitoring devices become more and more integrated into our daily lives, how might this empower you, the listener, to take a more proactive, maybe a more informed role in managing your own health? And what new questions does that raise for you about the future of personal well-being and maybe that delicate balance between personal data and medical insights? Something to think about.